They stepped on my hands, on my head. Being kicked is just the easiest one. And she was so angry and she was so like sad and worried. She told me, I don't want to bury you, sorry. Go out. Stay away from us. Live your life. Do anything but don't die. So when I came after a long journey to Berlin, people actually were waiting for us in the front of the camp. And it was 4 in the night. It wasn't in the morning, it was 4 in the night, and they were actually waiting for us and they were clapping at their drum, and it was an amazing feeling at the same time to feel welcomed and again to feel okay, everything is going to be okay. Is this the beginning? So I think everything is going to be okay.
We want them to be here, and we want them to be safe. You should never be in a country when you're not safe. But like the main thing is, don't try and change us. Come here and get along with us. I'm Marilyn Fritz, and I'm from St. Cloud. Originally lived here all my life.
My name is Tim Fritz. I'm 74 years old. I lived in St. Cloud all my life.
When my grandparents came over here from Norway, they assimilated and they gave to the community. And I don't feel that this particular group is assimilating, and they can keep their own culture, and that's fine.
We're all for immigration, but when you come to our country, be thankful, assimilate, try to be self-supporting, offer something good to our country, not try to change our country. Our country is good. People come to this country and try to change it like the country they just came from. Well, then why come to our country? It's possible the West and the Muslims get along. The only problem is they came over here with a bad reputation right off the bat. For thousands of years, the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims have been fighting. We're not going to solve this. We have to try our best to get along, but we each have to give a little. We don't know enough about them. We're all just grasping at straws, hoping it all works.
There was at the beginning a very warm welcoming feeling towards the people who had to leave their countries because of war. But with the months going on, and it became very difficult to deal with these large numbers of people. And one can say what has changed is that the skepticism and the fear of the foreign, let's put it that way, has risen. It was very important then to say we have to organize this in a way that the people who come feel well kept, well received, but also the people who live or have lived for a long time in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, that they feel that this is under control, that we know how to deal with this. But there is also incidents that involve criminal acts and terrible criminal acts. And I think there, for politicians, it's also clear to say, this isn't working. Doesn't matter if you come from a different country or not. If you don't adhere to the laws we have and our regulations in this country, you can't be here.
Meine Erfahrung ist, dass ich Angst haben muss um meine Sachen. Ich habe ein teures Handy. Wenn ich in die Stadt fahre, nehme ich das Handy nicht mit. Ich nehme nur wenig Sachen, aber das ist das, wenn ich in späteren Zeiten sind sehr viele dunkle, heutige Männer im Bus, vielleicht 90%, vielleicht nur eine einzige Weiße. Ich weiß nicht warum. Ich weiß nicht, warum so viele vorher die kommen, weiß ich nicht. Und ich sehe zu, dass ich sie nicht anschaue und auch nicht lächle oder so, damit ich nicht angesprochen werde. Die Moslems haben andere Feiertage. Sie haben aber mittlerweile feiern viele Weihnachten, die haben frei. Was bedeutet Moslem zu sein in katholischen Land? Sie dürfen nicht nur essen, sie dürfen auch nicht trinken, wenn sie Ramadan haben. Das heißt, sie können nicht 100% nicht arbeiten. Das finde ich schlimm. Das ist für mich Schwachsinn. Und wenn die Sonne untergeht, essen sie und feiern und sind laut. Aber die anderen Leute in der Wohnung, die müssen um 5 Uhr aufstehen, um zur Arbeit zu gehen und können nicht schlafen, weil ihre muslimischen Nachbarn laut sind.
So there's a lot of people which will never find a position in our society. They're coming from traditional societies. They tend to live their own lives. Most of them are Muslim. Coming from Muslim societies, treating the women in a much different way like we do in our societies. That is what changes the society drastically, I think, especially the influence of the Muslim immigration here from our country. We have already a lot of Muslim immigrants from Turkey and from Balkan, like Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, but with that was a drastic change. If you come from a Muslim country, from a Muslim nation, they have other rules. That for example, Sharia is not the rule for our legal system. We have a legal system which is based on Roman law, on Greek law. It's complete different things. They have to accept our constitution, and they have to accept our laws and have to live by our laws. This is the most important thing.
But we're retired, you know, so our world is a little bit different than yours. We don't work with them because we don't work anymore. We're involved in our church and our church community. Well, they don't go to our church. I'm not really having the opportunity to really meet them. And to be very truthful, I would love to know more about how their living situation. I'd love to know how they can afford the vehicles they drive, how they can afford all the nice phones that they have when they just come over here. But I know there's been meetings that I could have gone to. But to be very truthful, I'm a little bit fearful of going to those meetings because some of the meetings are conducted by somebody who's radical. And I don't want to be a part of that. But I want to know more. I want to understand it more.
I don't recall much about the war just because we left there when I was fairly young. However, I do recall parts of the refugee camps, and the heat, the stress on my mother's face. They say that you tend to remember emotional trauma a lot more than other memorable moments. Imagine that one day you have everything that you've worked for. My father was a lawyer. He was a politician. My mother was a stay-home mom. And we lived a pretty upper middle class life in Somalia. And then one night, all of that, they had to walk away from that in the middle of the night because it was a matter of life or death. Their only way out was to take nothing, gather the kids, and find the nearest checkpoint, which were guarded by army soldiers, good and bad. You don't know which one you'll run into. And you have to give a list of information to who you are in order to get out alive. There was a line of families, and it was either you were sent to the left or right. And my mother said she recalls seeing families massacred right there on the spot. So it's things like that we have to remember, that refugees and immigrants tend to leave for the reason because they're choosing life, right? And we have to be able to welcome them and be pro-life, I guess.
Alif Lam Mim. Allahu la ilaha.
So my name is Abdi Sulaiman, and I was born in Somalia, raised in Somalia, and came to the U.S. in 1982. So when I started out in New York, so I went to college in New York. I went to City University of New York, studied engineering, and worked in New Jersey for a long time, and eventually moved on to start my own business. Support in the Somali community actually is very strong, which is one of the reasons why they strive, why they and survive in this country. The Somalis have this culture of working together. So when they came here, for example, like most people didn't have money. They came as refugees and they start working in low-income jobs. And when they save money, like each person saves 3,000, 5,000, whatever it is, they get together. 20 of them, 30 of them, some of them even more. And they open a grocery store, or they open a laundry store, or something like that. They start businesses. So most of Muslims are law-abiding people who raise children, who want to take care of their family, who want to take care of their neighbors, because that's part of their religion, to take care of their neighbors and the needy and whoever needs their help. And you will find that almost all of them are like that. They are very nice people who are very friendly, who are not scary, like some people try to make them look.
I recall when we first moved to St. Cloud that the racial tension was noticeable. It was evident. I once participated in a panel discussion. It was actually one of the first ones that the Interfaith Dialogue put together in St. Cloud. And I explained how my mother summed up all three religions in one phrase, which is be kind. And after spending about 10 minutes explaining how my mom instilled that in us, and then we took questions. And this little lady, this elderly lady stood up and she said, I think Muslims want to kill us. Do you want to kill us? And I remember just that feeling of just tears filling up in your eyes. And I remember saying to her, no, I don't want to kill you. And just hearing those words come out of my mouth made me understand the severity of the situation. It's that fear is so real and so exaggerated you know, you hear the word ISIS, and it just makes you feel a certain way about Islam. So it's misunderstanding, it's misinformation, and there are people who are genuinely living with that fear of people like me, and it pains me to think about it because I wouldn't want to live that way.
In the beginning, we asked for, like, to reform it, like, to do something new, but they didn't respond. They actually, the start of the wars actually begins, the revolution actually. It started with that some children wrote on the wall, "It's your turn, Mr. Doctor." And Mr. Doctor is actually the president, like Bashar. And because of this, he got all the children in the prison. He took their nails off and he tortured them, and they are children. They are not more than 13 years old. And after that, they started to make like demonstration against him, demo. And instead of punishing the person who was responsible about torturing the children, he took him and he put him in another position which is higher. And in this point was a break point that the people would like to, like a revolution, would like this government to go out. We started to organize some demos on the internet, Facebook, using emails, using codes by calling each other. And we started our first demo in my university. We made an oath. If we get captured, maybe one of us is still out, not get captured, so he will survive. So if we mention his name, he will not survive. So that's why we made an oath. We are going to die before saying our names. But what did I hear about my friends? Nothing. I know just nothing about them. They were in the prisons. I'm sorry to say that I'm the only one who made it out. They were so brave. Anyway, they knew it's coming anyway, and they knew it's if they get catched, that's what happened to them. It was their decision, but even though this feeling of that you are the only one who survived is like eating me alive sometimes. Like this kind of fear is killing you every day. There's no way to run to your happiness because as a newcomer, someone who is running and leaving someone behind, no one knows this. They will say all the time, oh, they are coming here for money. No, they are leaving all of them, all their hopes, all their dreams, all what they are doing behind them, coming here just for one thing, hope. Hope that they will have the chance to live in dignity.
Meine Eltern sind hierher gekommen aus ganz verschiedenen Gründen. Mein Vater ist politischer Flüchtling aus Tunesien. Er war dort inhaftiert worden. Ich bin in München geboren, habe dort bis 2004 gelebt, bin dann nach Köln gezogen, bin dort bis 2008 geblieben. Dann nach Saarbrücken, habe dort 10 Jahre lang gelebt und bin jetzt hier in meinem ersten Semester. Wieso ich mich mit 11 Jahren dafür entschieden habe, mein Kopftuch anzuziehen. Ich will, dass Leute sehen, dass ich Muslima bin, ja? Dass Leute die Möglichkeit haben, mich zu fragen, weil ich das so quasi ja, fast schon provoziere, weißt du, ich meine? So, dass es ist jetzt nicht, das ist keine negative Art von Provokation, sondern dass ich ja quasi mich schon als Schild hinstelle, weil ich weiß, dass ich die Möglichkeit habe, das nach außen zu tragen, dass ich die Möglichkeit habe, den Weg für andere zu ebnen, weil ich sehr viele kenne, die sich nicht trauen, ein Kopftuch anzuziehen.
I was a teacher in a school, in a private institutions, and I was employed in the United Nations. I used to get a huge amount of money. I left all of this because I really wanted to survive, because I really wanted to escape. Because otherwise, if I had stayed in Syria, I would have been killed. Moving from Syria to Germany has brought a lot of changes into my life. Starting from the point where I decided to leave Syria, that was a shock for me, because that came after only a month and a half after our marriage. And I was working as a teacher and an employee in the United Nations. I had to blow everything away and just decided to leave Syria without even any planning. I just took this decision within only 2 days. So when we came here, we still missed the atmosphere of friendship, people, family. Here the society, all in all, is individualistic, where all that you have to care about is you. While in our culture, we have to look after the family, and the family is not only the parents and the kids and your brothers. Sometimes it could spread till you reach the cousins of your wife, or the cousins of the father of your wife, or whatever. Yeah, so that was pretty much different to us, and we are still adapting. So here you can find security. You feel sometimes home when you meet nice people. You don't have to worry about the future of your kids. You don't have to worry about the sounds of bombs, explosions. You don't have to hide the eyes of your children when blood scenes are shown on TV, or when you are facing these things in real life. So things could be good and bad everywhere.
In Germany, they always say everyone had the same chances. And I always say, I'm sorry, but no. And we see it with the refugees now, we do the same mistakes like 20 years ago. We have kids there, in the shelters who are traumatized. I mean, they tell you stories, it's crazy, seriously, what they live through. And we don't have a system to make these kids deal with it in a professional way, I mean, we don't have psychologists or anything like that. They're just growing up, and I think these kids, when they grow up, are gonna be really cruel people. Not because they're Arabs or refugees, because of the things that they live through, and they're not helped. We have also good stories. It's not like that we don't have good stories. But I think there will be quite a part, not the majority, but there will be a group that will have serious problems because we left them alone.
Sometimes in Germany, most particularly, it's difficult to preserve your religious and national identity, because being a Palestinian sometimes could be associated with being an anti-Semitic person, even though this doesn't have at all anything to do with this. Being a Muslim sometimes could be described as being a terrorist. Being an Arab or a refugee could give a bad expression or bad impression to the people that, okay, so you're aggressive, you are a poor person because you're a refugee, and this is not correct.
Balancing the two worlds, the American world and the Somali Muslim world. And it's not a new concept, right? The double conscience is something that African Americans have been living with way before I have. This idea that they have to negotiate their identity to fit a certain persona that's stereotyped in this country. What success looks like. Success is white. These ideas that are propelled in television, in movies, force African Americans and immigrants and refugees like myself to see an image of success as being white.
Heißt es immer, woher kommst du eigentlich her? Also, du siehst nicht so deutsch aus, ja. Was ist dahinter? Dann sage ich, ja, meine Eltern sind aus Tunesien und auch deutsch. Ja. Sie haben den deutschen Pass und sie fühlen sich auch deutsch, ja, sie sprechen Deutsch. Aber es ist einfach dieser Background, wie es in Deutschland genannt wird, der Migrationshintergrund oder heute jetzt die neueste Version der Fluchthintergrund. Genau, und das ist so ein Hintergrund, den die Leute immer sehen.
I had a time where like a phase, you know, where I always would say I'm German, like in your face, you know, I'm German. And then they asked me, where are you from? I said, yeah, Berlin. Where are you from? Yeah, I was born in Berlin, you know, and I know where your parents from. All these games, you know, and then we say, why would you care about that? You know? I was born, lived, socialized in, you know, in Germany. For me, being German and being a Muslim and being black-haired, having a beard, you know, for me it's absolutely normal because I don't know anything else, you know.
In the beginning, I'm Syrian, then I went out to be Turkish, and I went out to be German. And I found out I would like to define myself as a human being.
But I've learned by the time, I'd say my junior year of college, that I don't have to negotiate, I don't have to balance, that I can acculturate, that two worlds can coexist rather than leaving one behind. So I've learned to fit both identities into who I am and where I am.
Heimat ist für mich ein Mosaik. Ich hatte immer nur ganz kurze Momente, so friedliche Momente, wo ich Heimatgefühl hatte oder Personen oder auch eine Erinnerung, wo ich das Gefühl hatte, ich bin zu Hause.
Home is for me is people. No matter what, sometimes it's not a place that you go to, it's not a place that you feel safe, it's not a place that you get money from, it's not a place that you build your life. Home for me is just people. And my family is my home. My best friend is my home.
Part of having a sense of home is a sense of belonging. This is where I can feel that I belong. Where there are people who support me, who I love, who are part of this place, part of this culture, part of this local community, where I'm no longer passive, where I'm no longer delimited, lamed, inhibited by what I've experienced, but I can move on to other things. How can receiving societies promote that process?